Now let's turn to a big development story. After almost 18 years, Asia's largest slum, Dharavi, is soon going to get a facelift. The Adani Group has bagged India's largest redevelopment project, and this with a bid of 5,069 crore rupees. Around 240 hectares of prime property in central Mumbai will be transformed, with around 60,000 slum families getting free housing. My colleague Aishwarya is here with the details of this huge redevelopment project that is going to be the largest that India has seen. And of course, it has been in the pipeline, in the works, but now it is finally taking shape. And Adani is, of course, going to be giving shape to this redevelopment, as it were. Let's find out more from Aishwarya.
Well, it's good news for Mumbai and the inhabitants of Dharavi. Adani Properties, which is part of the Adani Group, as we know, has won the bid for Dharavi slum redevelopment project. It has made a bid of 5,069 crores, which is the highest among all the other entities that participated in the bid. The bid at the second spot was DLF, which made a bid of more than 2,000 crore rupees, and the third spot was Naman Developers, which of course didn't qualify in the final rounds. To give context, the bid was floated about 2 months ago, and about 8 companies had actually shown interest in taking up the project, including some international players as well. And on September 30th, Deputy Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis had announced that the bidding process will take place in the next 3 months. Also, this location is in the prime of the city, in the heart of the city, very close to the commercial hub of Bandra Kurla Complex, and is expected to benefit a lot of businesses going forward. The government is looking at developing this project through a joint entity wherein the lead partner, private partner, will hold about 80%, whereas the government will have a share of about 20% going forward. In terms of the process, the bid will now be moved to the state government's committee of secretaries that will discuss the proposal further. And also, the joint entity will be responsible for construction of free housing for eligible slum developers and slum dwellers and occupants, as well as provide amenities and infrastructure to these occupants. The project is also expected to be completed in the next 17 years, and rehabilitation should be done in the next 7 years from the date of issuance and commencement certificate of its first phase.
All right, Aishwarya, thanks very much. That helps us understand what has gone down to reach this point where we are looking at the redevelopment of Dharavi. But let's get further perspective from a gentleman who would understand what it would take to redevelop a Dharavi. Niranjan Hiranandani, chairman of Hiranandani Group, is joining us. Mr. Hiranandani, always a pleasure connecting with you. Thanks for making the time for joining us on India Tonight. How are you seeing this prospect of redevelopment of Dharavi? It wasn't the greatest claim to fame when people would talk about slum tourism, and then tourists would be taken off to Dharavi, and within the squalor that was Dharavi for the longest time that many tourists would partake of. Now we're going to see a rejuvenated area which is going to be extremely large, and there will be hurdles all along. It has been in the pipeline for a very long time, but tell us what you think is going to take to redevelop Dharavi.
Vikram, I'm extremely excited. We've waited for maybe 25 years to even see the beginning of Dharavi's redevelopment, and I'm so happy that this has finally come to be, and everything is announced. And there were issues on how to get the initial lands. The railways have allocated land for the purpose. I don't know the exact area, but some small area which will be there for the initial rehabilitation to start off quickly. And there is a huge commitment on the ground that in 7 years, the entire 250 hectares of people will be rehabilitated in this time. It will be the largest rehabilitation of people in the world, entire world at one time. It's never happened before. I'm extremely excited to see it. And I think it'll give Mumbai a facelift unheard of. The infamous Dharavi actually will become the famous Dharavi, which will be a new look completely. I think it will beat BKC completely and all the developments of Mumbai hands down because of its location, because of the kind of infrastructure which Mumbai is now seeing. For example, we are looking at 300 kilometers of metro, the connectivity to the mainland, and this redevelopment, I think, will make a world of a difference to do it. BKC is almost exhausted. There was almost a fight about the metro station. I think that can now take a back burner, the bullet train station, sorry. And the situation now means that we're going to see something which is never, ever imagined. So imagine the entire place where we have industry, we have commercial, we have residential, we have the poor, we have the rich, the kind of activity which goes on in industry in Dharavi is unheard of anywhere. So I'm pretty excited to see what the development is looking for. And we're going to see a sea change in the entire region, so to say, as far. When this experiment succeeds, I think the government will have done a great service to Mumbai. Because remember, half of Mumbai lives in Jhopparpattis and 10% of that lives in Dharavi. So you will be sorting out 10% of the issue of slums of Mumbai in just one large scheme that they are going to do. So I think that's a very, very big breakthrough.
Yes.
Up till now, only 2% of the slums of Mumbai have been redeveloped in the last 17 years. And in the next 7 years, you'll see another 10% just within one project. So I think it's a paradigm change that is going to take place and is happening. And I'm extremely excited to see how it really rolls out. So best wishes to Adani's and best wishes
to Mr. Hiranandani, as far as slum rehabilitation in the city of Mumbai is concerned, it's not like it's not been happening, but it's the scale that we are talking about, and it's not just residential rehabilitation. There are smaller industries within Dharavi. There is the informal leather industry, there is the pottery business, and several other smaller industries, which makes Dharavi the unique space that it is, because a lot of people come in from different parts of the country, they settle in Dharavi, and they continue their businesses. The economy of Dharavi is something that the world has watched over a period of time. Now, to rehabilitate that, would that be a challenge too? Do you think that one would have to give away some of that in the name of redevelopment?
Not at all. I don't think so. Yes, maybe some of the polluting industries which are there, there are some of the polluting industries which are located there, but they're hardly maybe 0.25% or so which are polluting industry. And obviously, there may be a challenge for rehabilitation that part. But that's a very small, minuscule of the total area of redevelopment and the industrial redevelopment within Dharavi. So I don't think it's such a big challenge. Yes, there are some problems over there, but I don't think we will not make it. So because of those problems, because ultimately you have to realize one thing, that we can't wait forever for removal of slums in Mumbai. And we just have an infamous name in having the largest slum in Asia. And I think we need to make it the best area in development and redevelopment that is taking place. The only equivalent that I can think of is probably Shanghai and parts of Singapore, which took place, and the government of Singapore actually demolished entire areas. But that was done by the government, by fiat and order, and not by some sort of public-private partnership.
Yes.
So I think this is probably the largest public-private partnerships in redevelopment in history,
Sure.
I think, ever taken place. So it will be a historical move on behalf of the government and private participation, which will do. I mean, we really have to make it a success. It's so important for
Yes.
Mumbai, so important for the purposes of the city of Mumbai and India as such. I think if we succeed in this, it's going to be a long story where we can do probably redevelopment of all slums in Mumbai.
That's what I was coming to, yes. Exactly. Perhaps this is going to lead the way for further redevelopment, considering the size of this redevelopment in itself. Yes.
What happened is that the redevelopment was taking place in very, very small pockets.
Yes.
Now we have different large areas, maybe
Correct.
Kurla, maybe the Parkside Colony in Vikram. These larger areas of slum should be taken up in larger
and perhaps with the public-private partnership, if that's what it's taking. 5,069 crore rupee bid, and that has been won by Adani for the redevelopment of Dharavi. It's going to be a landmark, and it's going to perhaps see more of such redevelopment in the future. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but would love to carry on our discussion. Mr. Hiranandani, always a pleasure getting your perspective on all things related to infrastructure and real estate. Thanks very much for joining us on India Tonight. Time for